2015 was a big year for video games. Developers for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were starting to get into full swing, producing captivatingly immersive, graphically impressive experiences. For PC, 2015 ushered in high-end GPUs such as Nvidia's GTX 980. 4K gaming was growing from strength to strength too. As evidenced by the games on this rundown, developers were broadening their scope. Open worlds were getting bigger, art style was front and center, textures were more high-res than ever before. So yes, 2015 was a great year for games. The astounding graphics on display in the 15 titles of this rundown demonstrated timelessness, and for the most part, a graceful aging like fine wine. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Utilizing Kojima Productions' in-house cross-platform game engine Fox Engine, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain exhibits subsurface scattering, physical-based rendering, and a host of other graphical tweaks and capabilities to showcase a title which still strikes awe in players some 8 years later. The experience is distinctly widescreen, with the size and scale of MGS5's Soviet-controlled Afghanistan and multi-faction contested Angola-Zaire border region portrayed excellently in what is still a demanding game for PCs. It's a shame use of the Fox engine was wrapped up after only a handful of Pro Evolution Soccer titles, alongside MGS5 and MGS Ground Zeroes, as its open-world promise was excellent. Bloodborne. It's perhaps down to Bloodborne's impressive graphics that gameplay was sometimes blighted by dicey frame rates and long load times. But, graphically speaking, From Software's darkly gothic roleplayer still astounds. There is chatter amongst the internet that Bloodborne's graphics don't hold up, and this belief is principal explanation behind persistent calls for a remake or remaster. But to counter this, Bloodborne's misty, decaying city streets are as much about capturing a specific aesthetic as opposed to consistent graphical superiority. From this point of view, it's hard to argue against Bloodborne not still looking impressive, despite the fact the game released in 2015. Ori and the Blind Forest. Whilst there's little chance a 2D platformer will push hardware to its graphical max, Ori and the Blind Forest is a superb example of gorgeous visuals melding perfectly with performance. Owing to its challenging, pixel-perfect platforming, the game simply must run smoothly. To do this, developer Moon Studios are forced to make cutbacks to visuals to maintain performance. But a quick look back to Ori and the Blind Forest, and it's clear to see that if this game was released today, it wouldn't look dated at all. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt was crafted inside CD Projekt Red's Red Engine 3, a game engine designed specifically for the purpose of creating immersive open worlds, and still, some 8 years later, is one of the most beautiful video games ever made. Its performance is commendable too, owing to Red Engine 3's capability at loading huge swathes of maps silently in the background, as opposed to lesser game engines that would frequently load tinier portions of the environment, impacting on gameplay in negative ways. Batman: Arkham Knight. As much as any game on this rundown, you'd be hard-pushed to believe that Batman: Arkham Knight came out a full 8 years ago. Its highly stylized, jaw-dropping visuals created in Unreal Engine 3 are still that good. Gotham's intricate detail and reflective rain-soaked streets look phenomenal in a then still fledgling 4K resolution, with advanced physics, particle physics bringing an enhanced immersiveness to dusty explosions and flying debris. Easily the best looking of Rocksteady's Arkham series, and arguably even more attractive than last year's Gotham Knights. Halo 5 Guardians. Perhaps not as fondly remembered compared to other titles in the franchise, Halo 5 Guardians' downfall in story mode was made up for in excellent gameplay underpinned by superb graphics. And given that in the entire Halo canon, Halo 5 isn't even up there with the best graphically either, it speaks to how stellar each game in the series looks. In all honesty though, there isn't really much to choose between Halo 5 Guardians and 2021's Halo Infinite. Both display bright, crisp lines and glossy surface textures, creating vibrant battlegrounds for Master Chief to dive bomb through. The Order 1886. Whilst the lackluster gameplay and lack of content remains a blight on the Order 1886's legacy, it's otherwise firmly remembered as a visual treat, with developer Ready at Dawn deploying some intriguing techniques to render its cinematic aplomb. For instance, its 1980 by 800 setup gave the visuals a movie-like quality, and a custom renderer gave a beautiful crispness through reduced aliasing to the game's character models and pseudo-Victorian environments. Without these exceptional graphics, the Order 1886 might have disappeared into obscurity after release. Instead, it's remembered fondly. Project Cars. Racing sims oftentimes showcase some of the most demanding graphics and smoothest gameplay of any video game genre. In a year which also saw graphical powerhouses Forza Motorsport 6 and Dirt, it's remarkable Project Cars stands head and shoulders above them. The level of detail in car design was simply staggering, offering a reported 200 to 300,000 triangles per vehicle on the highest PC settings. And this deep detail extended to road textures, scrubbed white lines, burnt rubber skid marks. All of these were razor sharp, even on consoles. Project Cars' PC version excelled in concurrent particles too, most notable in the density of metal shards and sparks as cars scrape along racetrack barriers. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. The techniques the 8-person development team deployed when crafting The Vanishing of Ethan Carter range far and wide, but the principal method behind the game's supremely lifelike quality is photogrammetry. That is, scanning real-life photographs, thousands in fact, and placing them on 3D objects to create highly detailed environments rife with erosion, grime, crumbling brickwork, dirt, everything you'd expect to see in an aged environment stuffed with old buildings. This photorealism adds an uncanny tangibility, like you could reach out and run your hand along the wall of a dilapidated barn and know exactly how it'll feel. Elite Dangerous. Frontier Developments have continued to work on Elite Dangerous in the years preceding its unveiling, and that includes numerous graphic overhauls and aliasing tweaks. However, 2015's vanilla Elite Dangerous was already a good-looking game to begin with. In fact, in those following years, and the subsequent release of console ports, there are grumblings that Elite Dangerous graphics have been downgraded from their initial interplanetary textures and lighting models to compensate for console's general poorer performance potential when compared to gaming PCs. Until Dawn. Teen horror romp Until Dawn is rightly remembered for its fantastic acting, helmed by Hollywood heavyweights like Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere. And while supermassive games have gone on to excel in facial mocap technology in their follow-up titles such as 2022's The Quarry, Until Dawn still looks top-notch. The talents of its acting prowess certainly aren't wasted on fledgling technology, but also the gloomy woodland environments pierced by sparse moonlight contribute significantly to what is an altogether memorable thriller. Evolve. Evolve's asymmetrical multiplayer, structured whereby a team of 4 cooperate to take down a solo player monster, seems to have dropped off the radar in the years following its early promise. Novel multiplayer modes aside, Evolve is still a low-key graphical banger, exhibiting deep contrasts, reflective water, tangible textures, and exceptionally reflective lighting, providing a backdrop that was as frightening to explore in a team as it was enthralling to stalk as a monster. Soma. As strange as it sounds for a rundown highlighting the best graphics, survival horror Soma induces terror by hiding key visual information from the player. Just what is lurking in the darkness? The deeply disturbing isolation in this experience is only possible with graphics that leave a lot to the imagination, as if developer Frictional Games wanted to craft an enigmatic world that's impossible to decipher. The fearsome effect is punctuated by on-screen blurring to reflect low health, or the fuzzy distortion seen orbiting hostile enemies. Not everyone's cup of tea, of course, but worth remarking on for a game utilizing graphics to supplement its horror is rarely done to this extent. Mad Max. Avalanche Studios' bleak and beautiful sand-strewn barrenness and its weathered items and environments, scarred shotgun barrels, corroded car bonnets, sand-blasted outposts, really sold Mad Max's Odyssey through rusted apocalypse perfectly. It's arguable that Mad Max pales in the shadow of more well-known open-world opuses released in 2015, but to compare the title in such a way does it a disservice, as what Mad Max lacks in glamour, it makes up for it in authentic dust and dirt. Fallout 4. The washed-out aesthetic of a land time-capsuled by nuclear fallout is one of the main strengths of Fallout 4, and a big reason as to why fans have found Bethesda's fourth mainline Fallout game so immersive. Sure, modders have set about sharpening up its blunt edges and deepening its weathered textures, but honestly, Fallout 4 already did a stand-up job of encapsulating the rustiness of an abandoned wasteland. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.